Well, good morning to you all. Today's video is about this chap here, Rob Andrews from Kent. Now he's got quite a collection of bits and bobs. He's steam, tractors, stationary, ploughs. What else, Rob?
Vintage vehicles, World War II stuff, vehicles, yeah, just a bit of a collection of everything really.
Fantastic. What we're going to do then, we're going to get on with this video now and see you in a little while. Well, as we said already, Rob, good morning to you.
Morning.
Now, tell us how it all got started, Rob. Now, I know your father, your grandfather was into bits and bobs, was he?
Yeah, so I come from an engineering family. My grandfather, who's unfortunately just passed away a couple of weeks ago, he was restoring motorbikes and cars, right from, well, beyond when I could remember really. And my other grandfather, my dad's dad, he was draftsman, but an engineering draftsman in World War II, designing special development projects for aircraft, so he worked for the RAF.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and then carried on that career until he retired in the 80s, but with the aeronautical side of things. But for me, as I'm told, because I'm too young to remember, my dad took me to the Kent County Show, I think it was, and I was about 2 or 3, and we used to go up past the stationary engine pen where they all were ticking over behind the white fence there, and I was just grabbed hold of the fence and wouldn't let go, just was mesmerised by the motion, and that, I think maybe, I don't know whether that was the start of it, but yeah, and then I was 6. Dad bought me my first stationary engine, which was a Lister D.
What, at 6 years old?
6 years old, yeah. And before that, we'd been stripping down like the little Suffolk Punch engines, the lawnmower engines. I've been stripping those down, so I already knew, and he taught me the 4-stroke cycle. And I still remember it to this day. I was only about 4 or 5, and he stripped it down first, and then put it all back together, and he said, "Now you do it." And that's how I learned. And
really?
Yeah, just from there really.
I think that's how we all learnt really. The same sort of background me, I started messing around with Villiers engines, what I found in the local bomb site, bits and pieces, and mechanically wise we all like playing with nuts and bolts, and after all it is only nuts and bolts, isn't it really, you know?
Yeah.
And anyway, I digress. Let's move on from when you got that first Lister D engine.
Yeah,
and
so I mean, I had the Lister D. We didn't show it or anything. Then we just also used to play with it in the back garden. Really, just start it up and that, and then I think I was around about 11 or 12, and we bought a couple more stationary engines, and then we started going to rallies. We used to go to Amberley chalk pits, and this would be back. Well, I'm 44, so this would be back in 1991. Yeah, we used to just take them around. I had a Wolseley WD2. Well, I still got it with a.
That's the one you boil eggs in, isn't it?
I did used to do that. Yeah, we did used to boil eggs. Not that I ever ate hard eggs. I used to do them, boiled eggs. I used to do them for my mum, just out of interest, really. When I was little, pop them in the hopper, and then 3 minutes out they come. Whether she used to eat them or not, I can't remember now. But
probably throw them away.
Yeah, I would have thought
just
so. Just polite. Yeah,
yeah.
It tastes like rubbish. But no, so we used to just go to different rallies. We used to go to Detling Steam Rally, Amberley chalk pits. There was a few that we used to do. Dad used to hire a trailer, and off we used to go.
Right. So tell me now. I know you've got a wide range of interest, from stationers to crawlers to tractors to lorries. Is there a favourite of yours? Would you, if you had to turn around and say you had to get rid of everything, but this one last remains?
There's probably a couple there, really.
You can't have 2. You've got to have 1.
Difficult. It'd probably be the steam engine now, because that's the newest one I've just got into. The steam side of things. So I've done all the others. I mean, cool, that's a hard thing to try and get rid of some of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's an awful question, that. But yeah, the steam engine would be the one, because I've not had that much time with it, you know. That's the sort of new era of my direction with my hobby, I suppose.
No, I understand. Now, you've got a little booklet on the table. You showed me, and can you show the viewers it?
Yeah, so this was from my grandfather, unfortunately he passed away, Bob Thompson. But on the back there, and see on the other shows I used to go to.
A little bit further forward, because it's wide angle lens. Perfect.
Yeah, see, he used to restore motorbikes, and he had about 8 there's aerials, there's rudges in there. A lot of them were sort of wartime and before.
Yep.
There's flat tank BSAs. I'm not so much into the bikes to be able to tell you the ins and outs of it.
Yep.
About 8, and he also had an Austin Ruby as well. And at the same time as I was doing the stationary engines, he was teaching me how to use a lathe and how to repair some of the things that he did. So yeah, and it was sort of a bit of a family thing really. And yeah, he used to restore stuff. We used to go to grandparents when I was little every Thursday. We would go and see them. And
you'll disappear out into the shed to have a look at things and play with things.
Yeah.
And Granddad will be there showing you this and that.
Yeah, he'd have his lathe there and he'd be making up some bit of brass or bearing for an engine or something. He'd just make everything, you know. I used to see the bikes come in and they would be in boxes of just bits, just looks like rust. And then, you know, 3 or 4 months later, it was just a beautiful machine. You know, and he used to spray them, he used to do all the hand lining, everything.
Really?
Yeah.
See, they're the skills. I mean, it's obviously in your blood, obviously. But they're the skills that them sort of people had. It's the craftsmanship, isn't it, really? They learn after many years. And it's also not about time as well, because if you learned something back in the days, like, I don't know, let's say bricklaying or something, you didn't have someone saying to you, you got to do it at this time. It just takes a little bit of time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, if a bike takes 3 years to God, what's the word? Restore. Yeah. Then it takes 3 years to restore, doesn't it?
It really.
Time was different era, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of it's just down to time and money and skill. I mean, yes, you could pay someone else to do it, and sometimes I have to because it goes beyond my engineering, capabilities. And you need it to be correct, you know, especially the finer stuff. So I've got select friends, you know, who do stuff for me. But yeah, I mean, some of the tractors that I've done, they were 2-year projects, you know, but you can't get the bits ones. You have to make it, you know,
or get them made or cast.
Exactly.
A machine and everything. Same with steam engines.
Well, the plough you walk past, we'll see it later on. But that Ransom's Mo track up there, I've had parts cast for that. All new points and everything. I managed to get hold of originals, and I've got points cast for that. And the Fordson Roadless, the lighting kit on there, there was all brand new parts cast, either borrowed from friends to take patterns from, cast, then machined, so it looks right and is right. Stuff you just can't pick up anymore.
Right, so we've moved on from the Wolseley now. We're carrying on now. So what's the next project on?
So we amassed, I suppose, I think I've got 9, less that one up there, 9 stationary engines we got to. So there was different ones we used to take to valleys, and we had the water pumps and all the bits to go with them. I used to work them. And then in 1998 I bought my first tractor, which is up in the shed there, which is a Massey Ferguson 35, 1962. Local machine. I'm only the second owner. Was sold by Lenfields, and in Maidstone, which is now it's the transit centre to the right hand side. So it came from there, went to Lenham, and then I picked it up off of the farm when that was being broken up and sold off.
Is it the 3-cylinder version?
Yeah, it's a 3-cylinder Perkins in it, so lovely little machine.
Oh.
Yeah, but it only had 1900 hours from standard.
No,
yeah,
really?
from standard, from scratch. So yeah, it is literally like new. There's no dents on it, no nothing. And all I literally did was had to go through the obvious things like water pipes, for the radiators they had perished, and the fan belt. Yeah, that was way past best. Complete service.
Changing the fluids as well.
Yeah,
and
that's it. Yeah, I think I had the injectors reconditioned, and that was it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's got about 2,100 hours on it now. Starts.
Now the viewers know I like things in their working clothes. I'm not one for polish and gleaming. Just come out of the showroom. Is it concourse they called it, or trader dolly or something like that? Now this 35. Tell me it's in its original working clothes.
No, it's not. No. So what I did with it. Sorry to upset you. But when I was restoring things, I'm not opposed to that, and I think like that station engine you were seeing a bit at the top there. It's earned that over, and you can't replicate 102 years worth of aging process. You know, and it still works mechanically fine. It just doesn't look, and there's plenty of shiny ones out there, but sometimes it's just nice to see, what it looks like. But the 35, no, unfortunately, I took that, and when I restored it, I always restore them sympathetically. So sometimes I leave bits where there's a bit of an overrun of spray, and I won't rub it out completely because there's some of the character that it came with from there. But when I restore it, I'll do it to, I suppose, something slightly better than what it would have turned up out of the factory. Maybe showroom. It was the one that went and sat in the showrooms. It had a slightly better finish to it, but not over the top.
Fantastic.
You're not scared to use it, kind of thing.
No, I mean, what I like about old tractors is like, especially the Folsoms and the Folsoms, every time the tractor driver, be it the owner of the tractor or the farmhand, they'd rub against the side of the tank as they'd get on it, and they'd rub the paint off there, and that shows the history to me.
Yeah.
And I accept, I mean, because I've done tractors in the past where the wheel rims are completely rotted out and you've got to replace them. So I tend to respray them rims, but leave the rest of the tractor as it is. But spray the pieces. I mean, if bonnets need changing, obviously, then you have to do this. And on Folsoms, obviously, the nose cone always rots out.
That's
on
it.
So
and you end up putting new bits on. I've got an Alice Chalmers up there, an Alice Chalmers M from 1938. And when I was restoring that one took me about 2.5 to 3 years to do that because it was really not in a very good condition. But when I stripped it down and took the fuel tank off, the fuel tank had sat so close to the bonnet that it actually, kept a lot of the original paint that was on there. And when I looked at it, it actually had the handprint of the guy that had handled it when it was painted and left it.
No, really?
It's a shovel of a hand. Back in America when it was put together, and I left that and I went round it with the new paint and everything.
Fantastic.
So his handprint is still on there, and you can quite clearly see it, with the fingerprints and the rest of it. Lost the annals of time, but I just left that little bit in there, and it's back again underneath.
See, that's what makes it. That's what makes a tractor. So we've now got to tractors now because we've left stationary engines. Well, temporarily anyway. We're on to tractors now, and we got the 35, and after the 35,
after that I bought a standard Fordson, and then after that because I always like crawler tractors. I like my stuff usually wartime or before. And I like crawler tractors. You don't see them as much because they're not as usable, and I thought, I want to get a crawler. So that was the Alice M I was just telling you about. That was the first one I got, and I think I bought that when Daisy was born, so that'd be 2009. And then finished it off like 2 to 3 years afterwards.
And the condition wise when you first picked it up?
Well, it wouldn't even roll. Most of the tracks were frozen up. Bear in mind, obviously, that was like 14 years ago now. I was swinging a 14-pound sledgehammer and a gas torch around for a few days, freeing all the links off. Rebuilding the steering clutches, they were all seized up. Engine-wise, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it needed some work on the mag and
was it standing in a field or in a quarry or something?
The story with it was it was a bit. I think it was driven through water, was what I was told back in the very early 80s, about 80, 81. From the guy, and they drove through water, didn't put the wading plugs in, so the water went up into the steering clutches, and of course they parked it up, didn't flush them out or anything, and then it seized all the plates together, and because it would no longer steer, that's where it got left. I mean, the track chains and that sort of stuff don't really look like done a lot of work. The grouses have been well looked after and had bits welded on before they got too low. But it's just one of those. You're never going to know the history, but it was down in Sussex anyway. That's where it was.
Now, did it have a blade on the front of it or anything like that?
No, just a tractor.
Just a pull.
Yeah, and it's a war strip tractor as well. So although it dates to 1938, the actual time period and the way it's been stripped down for transport, when they used to bring them over in bulk on ships to save weight, they used to lose the side panels, there was all sorts of bits they used to take off them, because you do that over 100 tractors, you can fit 2 more tractors on in the weight wise in the boat or something.
Exactly,
that's the logic behind it. So it's a war strip one, so I think it existed over in America for a few years or whatever, and then was bought over here.
Under the War Act scheme?
Under that scheme.
And because they packed off everything from America, if it was second hand, falling to pieces, whatever.
It just came over.
It came over and helped us during the war, but we've just finished paying that debt off, I believe.
Was it 2012? I think that was.
Yes, we finished
from the Lend-Lease scheme, and that was everything. I've got the Chevrolet you'll see up there is also part of that Lend-Lease scheme from 1941.
They'll get a word in edgeways because every time you bring another tractor into the scenario, don't you? So again, we move on from the crawler.
Various other tractors turned up. Not really sold any. I did a dumper truck. I was given that, a Benford dumper truck with a single cylinder petter on the back of it.
That's it.
The only one I've ever sold.
PH.
That's only because I think it was an AVA 1 was on the back.
Oh, AVA 1, which is just before the PH one.
That's it. Yeah, it's really 1956. It is. Green, and it was bought by the Forestry Commission. So it registered first up in London, and then it was
Great little tool though, weren't they?
That was lovely. But I made all the new skip for it, all the wings. I had to get them rolled up in Burnley, up in Manchester, a place called Feather Wing. And they still go today, and they still make all the wings and everything. Went up, took them up there. They made a custom pair of wings for it. That's the only one I've ever sold. And the guy was just adamant he wanted it. He offered me a silly amount of money. I thought, well, if you want it that much, you can have it. Do you know what I mean? It was one of them.
Yeah.
I'd have fun with it.
Yeah, I've done that in the past though, and regretted it. I mean, we talk about small dumpers. I had a little dumper with hydraulic tip on it and electric start. And someone come along and offered me the right amount of money for at the time, and I still regret it now because in my old age, just winding over old dumpers is a bit difficult, isn't it? You know, some of them twin cylinder jobbies that I've got.
Yeah, they take a bit.
They break your arm and your wrist.
Your back if you don't do it. Don't mean it. If you're swinging it, swing it like you mean it.
Yeah. So where did steam engines come into your scenario then?
One of them things you always looked at on the rally field and gone, you know, they're beautiful. Always liked them, you know, and the noise and the smell. I mean, who don't like the smell of a, you know, coal burning, you know, oily old steam engine? But it was
the dinosaur from the past, isn't it? Breathes smoke and.
The thing that limits you with that is the cost of them.
The transportation.
No, the actual cost of the machine itself. Really? They're phenomenal cost, you know. And until recent, I mean, I started as an agricultural engineer. Wasn't exactly setting the world alight with pound notes then.
No.
But since then, I've got 2 companies of my own now. I'm into buildings engineering and servicing, which has really sort of opened up the next sort of stage for my. I'm lucky, really, just lucky.
Fantastic. Now, I mean, I can remember back in the 70s because I'm that age, and they couldn't give them steam engines away.
No.
You know, they was parked up in yards, in front gardens, on farms and everything.
Yeah, that's it.
And then the scrap man come along and give him a fiver for his, because the weight of them, transportation, even the weight.
Yeah.
And they was cut up in the field and put on trailers and hauled off to scrap yards and things. But now they're a colossal amount of money, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, they're very, very expensive. You know, and it depends on which. There was entry level steam, which I suppose is your rollers and things like that, and right up to your Showmans if you're into that kind of thing. You know, you're looking at $250,000 for an original one.
Now we spoke at the Eden Bridge. Was it the Eden Bridge or the Tractor Fest?
Bidding and Tractor Fest.
Tractor Fest. Yeah. We spoke there and obviously had the camera on you. Now you were sitting down and you unfortunately you had a bad back at this present time, didn't you? Now, have you ever thought about putting rubber tracks on your steam? Because they'll stop the shake.
It would do. So many people say this. Put a set of rubbers on it. You'll go a lot further. I get it, and I get why it's done. But I like the look of the straights, you see, because that's how it originally was. So
yeah, no, I get that as well.
It's a bit of one of them, and it catch-22. What do you want to do? You know, you have a comfortable ride and not look right, or look right and just get annihilated when you drive, kind of thing.
But also, I mean, you got to think about your health-wise. I mean, would you, transportation, would that be better for you, right? I mean, because, you know, bunging it on the back of a low loader obviously better for your back. Because I'm thinking of you there.
Yeah, I mean, I do limit myself to. I mean, where you saw me bidding and Tractor Fest, that's from here. It's about 9.5 miles.
Oh.
So that's as much as I want to do with it.
Yeah.
That's quite a long way. You know, if I'm on my own, I can do it in about 3 hours. But we went as a group of 3.
Yeah.
So we had a roller.
And you had the cart on behind you, didn't you? Did you have the box on behind you?
No, I didn't. No, that was my friend's. He has got an agricultural wagon. That's what I was sat up against it.
That's it.
So yeah, he had that in his traction tray, and they carry water and coal.
Yeah.
We still stop off at the hydrants and have to draw up. Sometimes, you know, the old rule, you never drive past the hydrant kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's, you know, because you never know when the next one you're going to find going to not work or be buried as they usually are. We have to dig them out. A bit like old Fred Dibnah used to say, you know, he was doing them a service, digging out the hydrants because they just fill up with rubbish all the time, you know.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you mentioned Fred Dibnah now. He's a great man, isn't he? I mean, you know, was you brought up under watching his programmes?
Yeah, and we still re-watch them today. I sit there and watch them with the girls, you know. You sort of watch them, and then a couple of years later you go, let's have a look on, because they're all on YouTube now.
Same with Jack Hargreaves. Now, obviously, my channel's called Out of Town, and obviously, you know, because I love Jack Hargreaves. Rush home on a Friday evening at 6:30.
Yeah, so he was a bit before
Well, you're a lot younger than me, Rob.
I'm 44. He's just Jack Hargreaves. I know who he is, and you know, I've watched his stuff since. Back in the day when I used to sit there as a nipper with my dad, it was always Fred Dibner, because you know his programs were of that era for me, really. You know, the sort of 1980s. And he popped on the scene in, I think, late 70s, didn't he?
That's it.
Yeah, and we used to then watch his programs after that. But yeah, it was always
It was
fantastic,
a character.
Very storyteller.
Yeah,
You know,
I used to make
clever
me
guy.
laugh where he used to be on top of a chimney or a church steeple, 300 metres above the ground, and he'd be standing on one scaffold board, wouldn't he? No handrails, no health and safety.
No.
Be knocking the chimney down one brick at a time. And then all of a sudden it'd cut back to his workshop where he's got his steam engine or a stationary engine.
Yeah.
A bit like yourself, really.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're at your cottage today. Now, do you do the work here, or do you do most of your work at your...
Some of it I do here.
Yeah.
And you see the workshop at the top there. Some of it I do. Like I said, not all of it I can do because I don't have the lathing equipment here or anything. If I did, I could get back into doing that.
And the shelter, perhaps, because I mean, I've got now a large barn. It's just nice to tuck in the winter time, tuck yourself away into a nice big barn, and you know, leave the tools on the floor.
Yeah, and yeah, you can do that somewhat. So I mean, the steam engine, which you've filmed before, General French, which is mine, that stays up at a friend's barn where he's got you know, it's spoke we put lorries in there, but it's got a pit so you can get underneath it. It makes all the winter maintenance so much easier with the lit undercroft, you know, pit underneath it, so you can take everything to pieces. Like you say, leave your gear out. You walk away, come back next weekend, it's still there, kind of thing. So, but through the summer months, probably from about end of April, when it starts to turn nicer again, fingers crossed it is England, you never know what you're going to get, but around that sort of time I'll bring it back home again.
Oh, really?
After it's done its steam test, and then it will live here, you know, because it's all right sheeted up outside there with its chimney cap on.
Yeah. It's just the damp, the cold.
That's it.
The winter time doesn't do it.
December's usually the last time I'll run it. I'll do a run out first week of December, usually to Tenterden, with a couple of others, and then that's it for the year, and then put them away, and then start your winter maintenance, and then 5 months later she's got another ticket on her, and you've done all your maintenance, and you're back out doing it all again. So
Now, as you, quite rightly, as you just said, you're sort of like from summer to the winter to spring and to autumn. Now you've got a family, you've got a wife, and she doesn't mind you playing with all your toys all the time.
No, I'm quite fair with it, really. Although it's not really her thing, she appreciates it. It's my hobby. She's never known me any different, you know. So I've always had the toys just got more and bigger, I suppose. And she's always just said to me, "Just be honest. Tell me when something's going to turn up," because I've done that a fair few times. My most famous one.
Haven't we done?
I went out for cat food once, and I came back with a boat. I literally went out for cat food, and then went to see someone, and I drove back with a boat on the back of my truck.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Well, Rob, we're going to have a walk round your machines and everything, and thanks for telling us your story about everything, and we're going to walk round and see your stationary engines, perhaps, and your crawler.
Yeah.
We'll sit up in your yard, and a few other bits and bobs.
Yep.
And we'll catch you on the next one. As I say, let me just turn the camera around 1 second. Be rude, Rob. Now, Rob's put himself out today for this video. Now, I think you should like his video, really. He's been in front of the camera now, and we've enjoyed his experience. And if you haven't already, think about subscribing to the channel. Doesn't cost you a penny. And see you on the next one. Cheerio for now.